All right,
Sorry,
we're
guys.
sorry about that. Call to order 7:10. And can we get a roll call, please?
Mrs. Shapiro. Mr.
Here.
Barrett. Here, Mrs. Hawk. No.
Present.
Oh, that. Mrs. Redmond.
Was that me? Yes, here.
Yeah, that's you.
Mrs. Barrett.
Can't hear it too well.
Mr. Here. Miss Siri. Here, Mrs. Blow.
Here. And let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay, motion to approve the study session meeting minutes for May 5th and the regular voting meeting minutes for May 12th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that. Shows.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Moving on to the treasurer's report. Motion 2B for approval of the treasurer report as presented. 1, the general fund. 2, athletic fund. 3, food service fund. 4, capital improvement fund. 5, student activities fund. 6, PA municipal real estate collections, no report. 7, MBM delinquent real estate collections. 8, Keystone collections, earned income and local service tax collections. And 9, the general fund approval of bills, Fund 10, all for May 2025. Do I have a motion?
Harris, so moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Hi.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. All right, welcome everybody to our June voting meeting. Had a great June, lots of exciting things happening. We had a great graduation. Another memorable one with storms and clouds but it was still really fun. So, and a great end to the year also for all of our students. So, and hope everybody made it through the open well. It's nice to have our streets back. But welcome everybody, and we will just start moving on here. All right. Move on to our first hearing of citizens. Second. Slow. This first hearing of citizens is for agenda items only. So anything that's on the agenda to be voted on, you can come up and if you have a comment, we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less to give time for everybody to speak. And all comments are being recorded and will be placed on the website in the video and audio formats. Any comments?
Have a representative here. Anyone have any questions? We submitted during the comment period. Yeah, you want to. Thank you. We've had a very successful year.
Sure did.
Yes, you did. Anybody else? Okay, so we are going to be moving to our finance motions first. Brian,
you
did
ready?
you want to lead or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
No, I got it.
Okay.
5A, motion to approve the following. The 2025-2026 final general fund budget. Recommend approval of the 2025-2026 Riverview School District budget at a tax millage rate of 25.50 mils for a total revenue of $28,450,000. Resolved that the budget of the Riverview School District, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, with total expenditures of $28,450,000, which includes a real estate tax millage levy of 25.50 mils, is hereby adopted as the annual budget of the Riverview School District, Allegheny County for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025. Be it further resolved that the Board of School Directors of the Riverview School District, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, hereby authorizes the appropriation and expenditures of the funds as itemized in said budget during the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025. The necessary revenue for the same shall be provided by the estimated yield of 1/2 of the proceeds of a 1% earned income tax under the authority of the Act of December 31, 1965, PL 1275. The estimate yield of the proceeds of a 1/2% real estate tax levied and assessed pursuant by prior resolutions heretofore levied and assessed, and by a school tax on real estate which is hereby levied and assessed at a rate of 25.50 mils on the dollar on the total amount of the assessed valuation of all real estate, or of all real property taxable for the school purposed in Riverview School District, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, or at the rate of $25.50 on each $1,000 of market value. The 2025-2026 Riverview School District budget will be available for public review at the Riverview School District Business Office and district website beginning July 1, 2025. 5B, to appoint all tax collectors and agencies as listed below. Tax collectors for current real estate tax. There being a vacancy in the office of tax collector for the borough of Verona, the school district will act in its own right pursuant to 8 PACS 902 through the office of the board secretary to collect school district real estate taxes on properties within the borough of Verona. In the event that the district engages an agency to perform billing, collection, and reporting services, commissions shall be paid in accordance with the schedule of commissions rate most recently adopted January 2002 by the Riverview School District. The elected or appointed tax collector of the borough of Oakmont shall be responsible for the collection of real estate taxes with respect to collections from the borough of Oakmont, and that the commissions shall be paid in accordance with the schedule of commissions rates most recently adopted January 2002 by the Riverview School District prior to election to the term of office. Surety bonds shall be secured and maintained on the elected Oakmont tax collector and the board secretary as required by law on an annual basis with respect to the aforesaid taxes commencing with and continuing beyond the school year 2025-2026 in the amounts otherwise determined. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Jacobs.
Discussion. Hearing no discussion, Rainey, would you like to?
Hold
Oh,
on, hold on.
okay.
You have to microphone on.
Should we have voted roll call on 5A first and then at 5B? Are we doing motion for both 5A and 5B right now?
Typically, that's what we do, but yeah, we combine them, but if you want to separate them out, we can separate them out.
As long as it's a roll call. Fine.
Yeah, it'll apply to both. Yeah.
Unless you want them pulled out separate.
Yeah, we can make a motion to do that if you want. We just pulled forward language from last
It's
year.
actually confusing because it's listed as 5B, but on if you go to the next one on the left-hand side of Orthodox, it's not like there's another 5B. So these should be relisted as 5A1 and 5A2. I got what you meant to say.
Yeah.
It looked like they were two separate motions, you're correct.
Okay. 5A.
We want to do.
Still could do one roll. I don't know.
But do we need to make a note of 5A, B, like 5A2?
And the problem, and I actually would ask that they be pulled separately because my vote on one may not be the same as the other, or it's not going to be.
Oh, then
You want them
Yeah.
separate?
So, we're gonna do a roll call on
5A1.
Correct, but then, like, we have discussions before we do
Yeah.
a call.
But we have to do,
Ask if there's discussion.
if there's discussion first.
5A1.
Okay, so we will do discussion on 5A1 first. Any discussion?
And for the audience, that is for the final general fund budget for next year, next fiscal year. Is what we're discussing now.
5A, but we not 5B.
Correct.
That 5B will be 5A2,
Two.
Two.
because the next section is listed as a 5B as well
Mhm.
on the agenda.
Yeah, so 2025-2026 final general fund budget is 5A1, and then tax collectors for recurring real estate tax is 5A2.
Not financial. That's what I'm looking at. On the agenda, B.
We're on motions for approval of finance.
There's an A, B, C, and D. And we're looking at A, B, C, and D. So you're telling me that A has two parts, you know, it's second.
She's not looking at the detailed agenda. She's looking at the condensed agenda.
She's looking at the other agenda.
B will be the closure of the 2024 financials.
Yeah, we're looking at the wooden wall.
Yeah,
We're having
unfortunately,
issues
we can't
with that.
fix it.
Do you want me to go up there?
You know how to remove it.
I can move it. You want me to try to move it while you guys are going?
Okay,
That's kind of it.
it's fine. They can hear us.
Can they hear us?
They can hear us, right? All right, so discussion on 5A1, the 2025-2026 final general fund budget.
I think short and sweet, I'm still on where I was 2 weeks ago, that I think that, you know, while I understand that we lose out on this increase, if we don't take it this year, that because it's only 336,000, that we can't take it from our, savings, and we don't need to, you know, again, increase taxes for a fifth year in a row. Just don't think it's necessary on this type of amount. Now, if we were talking about, you know, another million or something like that, then we would need to have a different discussion. And I also, I think to our points a couple weeks ago, that we hired a lot of different, like, positions in the district. Not to say that they're not necessary, but I think that, someone even pointed out basic or special education, that is one of those things that could be cut. Like, clearly, that's just not one of those things that should be cut. So, I think that this is, again, just one year that we can take from our slush fund, looking at revenue back in interest over the last year. That's my standpoint.
If you wrote $200,000 in the complex with security guards, is that the total cost of security guards, or is that like only hiring one security guard? That is like those security guards, based on the rates that they included in their contract and the hours they hours. So security guards optional? It's an unfunded mandate, but
One is up,
so
one is mandated, two.
one is mandated, but that would mean we would have to pick between buildings, and with two, we had one coming back and forth between the elevators on the non-study.
The two guards was a result of that sort of independent assessment of the district. That was the recommendation of that assessor in terms of, most efficient way of making us the safest.
I'm I'm standing on my statement from last time too. I'm thinking more in terms of the long term of Riverview versus a year of making it, zero out this year without raising taxes. I have concerns that knowing that our contracted costs are going up, our insurance rates will go up next year. Our transportation contract is due and will likely go up next year. I just don't feel it's responsible to not cover that even a little bit with our base, the base that we have. I mean, I understand it doesn't sound like a lot, $300,000, but if we don't have that $300,000, next year, we cut it again the next year to not raise taxes, then we don't have that in the future. And costs are going up, so that deficit could be bigger next time. And I just don't feel it's responsible when we know what the future holds as far as school funding. We got $50,000 more. We're hoping for $50,000 more from the state this year for general
Between the basic and subsidy and the special.
and special ed. So $50,000 more from the state. But how much did our insurance go up this year? Which is approximately $150,000.
$160,000.
So when your costs go up that much every year, or in some respect, and really the only increased revenue that we can bring into the school is through our taxes. We might get a grant here and there. We've made, changes with how money is shifted around. We've adjusted contracts. But those are small amounts when you think about your insurance costs go up $150,000 every year or close to that. I just don't see how in 5 years we don't end up with another hole, and then we're cutting our things that are important. And I don't think it helps the community or Riverview School District to be appealing to new families and to people wanting to move to our communities if we are cutting things that are important in the schools. Costs are going up for everybody, for every one of us up here, for every business, and to say that the schools should be the ones to take up the slack is not, I don't feel that way. So that's where I stand.
My concerns come with the things that, when you look at this list of things that are possibly cut, are the reasons that we're here is to protect our kids and to make sure they have a good environment. And so we talk about cutting security guards and student activities and supplies for them to do the things they love to do, just to hit a bottom line. That concerns me, and that if we start pulling things like that apart, it starts down a rocky road. And if we look down the line, we say, well, this year we're not gonna do it. We come and get some unforeseeable monies that we need this year, and we have to pull more. And then next year say, well, I'm sorry, we didn't raise taxes last year, but now we're gonna have to raise them more because we got ourselves into a hole. None of this is easy. I say this every time in this conversation. These are not easy decisions, but when it comes down to it, for me, it is about what is in the best interest of our kids. And I don't feel comfortable saying, well, maybe we can just go with one security guard and that'll be okay. I hope they can make it from building to building as things go on. I don't feel comfortable saying, well, we'll take 100,000 out of student activities and we'll just kind of make do. Our boosters, as you can see, some of them here tonight, work really hard to cover those extra costs, and they're doing as much as they can. We want to ask them to do more rather than just say, we're providing activities for your kids. That's part of the school experience. That's part of a holistic experience, is for your kids to have opportunities and for everyone to have the opportunity equitably that we as a district cover. I don't feel comfortable in just saying, well, we'll let it ride for you and see what happens and hope that next year that everything flattens out. This is the world we live in. It's probably not going to flatten out. We're all incurring more costs. And I agree with something Wendy said. We can't ask the district to say, well, the rest of the world is going up in price and we're just going to have to just say, well, we'll make do. So we don't ruffle any feathers. Our kids need us to not ask them to make do. Our teachers need to not ask us to say, you have to make do. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to educate our kids holistically, and taking parts of that away for what is not, it's part of what we do. It's part of the world we live in. So you have to cut back on a couple of things. If it affects your home, then you have to look at that. But we all live here, and that's part of, as a taxpayer, that's part of my responsibility would be, if I had children or not, to make sure that we're providing the best environment for our kids, a safe environment, and that makes a better community. If we have our kids getting what they need and not asking them to get by, and not asking teachers to get by. That's where I stand on it.
Just really quickly, just to be clear, I'm also not in favor of cutting programs here. And if that came down to cutting programs and or like safety and security, versus taking from our slush fund, that would be a completely different conversation, but that's definitely not what I'm proposing. So I hope that the community also understands that, as well as the rest of the board. I'm definitely not proposing just taking, or just, going without or cutting and slashing from other places. I'm saying we can use what we already have, versus to improve more.
Okay, thank you, engineer. I just want to say, it doesn't have to be about cutting things. I think a lot of it has to do with the term fiscal responsibility. I know we all kind of, oh my gosh, when you hear that term, but when it comes down to it, there are things that we've gotten over the last 4 years I've been on this board. You're tired of saying it, but the weight room, the regular hours, the decals on all the buildings, don't hand sanitizer at the schools. I mean, these are things that, you know, each project was $150,000 project each year. Each year we have $150,000 to keep up with the Joneses. And that would have been, those 2 years would have been not raising taxes this year if we would have had that $300,000. You know, I think what's frustrating about all this is we have the weight room, we have these radar decals, and we have the new grass at Riverview Elementary School, but Ryan still doesn't have the windows that we had discussed when I first joined this. So, you know, that is frustrating, and it doesn't have to be about cutting activities or security hours or things like that, it's just about thinking, do we need this now? Is this necessary? Because the weight room, we cut in half for that, because we have to spend $150,000 on that. You know, it's those cost saving things, that we try to talk about and be mindful of, and, you know, you don't have to keep up with the Joneses. That's all I have to say.
I would actually completely disagree, and I don't think that this is a matter of keeping up with the Joneses. I think it's much more about maintaining being a competitive school district, which I know sounds funny because we're a public school district, but when people are considering where to move or whether to keep their kids in our district, about retention, I think that making sure that our facilities are up to date, making sure that we have the things that we need that function properly, that are also required, you know, either by the state or by WPIAL or, you know, whatever the various governing bodies are that we need to abide by. Some of those things have been done to maintain our buildings and facilities and make sure that we're offering the best that we can. And some of those improvements that have been made over the last couple years, you know, aren't like $500,000. Those were, you know, smaller projects over time that will serve us in the long run. So I would much rather see us be responsible and thinking long term and raise taxes a very small amount, you know, when needed, to make sure that we can afford the things that are getting more and more expensive by the month or the day. Rather than wait and hope that things will level off, which they won't, or hope that our state will actually fund education properly, which we've been shown that they won't. And you know, then eventually 5 years down the line, be putting other people on this board in a bad position to have to raise taxes to the max, or maybe cut other things because we didn't raise taxes when we could have maybe halfway. So I don't think it's a matter of, oh, we can not raise taxes and we can also not cut things. Where do those extra funds come from? Like our budget's really quite finite with how much wiggle room we have. I mean, the bulk of it is in salaries, pensions, pretty much mandatory things. And I certainly am in favor of adding two security officers if that's what's needed to keep our 3 buildings safe that are not necessarily all in close proximity. I would much rather make sure that we meet that mandate, even if it's unfunded, obviously, and then some, if that's going to keep the district safe. And I would be kicking myself later if something, God forbid, happened and be like, oh, I wish I had spent that $150 a year or whatever it might have been that it works out to for a 2% tax increase.
Anybody else?
Yeah. And what I'm willing to move on. I totally, and we've discussed this with security guards being unfunded mandate. I don't agree with the mandate at all whatsoever. I'm diametrically opposed to having armed people in our schools because the state told us we have to. The lack of reasonable decision making is not appropriate. And that there is allegedly some option for us to be able to like get a 1 year opt-out is not an acceptable thing. Again, I would rather spend $200,000 and get 5 health therapists, counselors, whatever, more guidance counselors in our schools than, not that security guards can't provide great service to our kids and our community, but I would rather kids get support in like their mental health than give security. And that the state is not providing any funds to pay for that cost, particularly for districts that don't currently have that expenditure, is not acceptable. I don't agree that we necessarily have to cut the other 2 proposed areas that are on a sleeper sheet. I can totally understand why she chose those, because it makes the number up, but obviously you can move things around and change things. I am more invested in, providing money for people who work for us to do a good job, give them what they need. I couldn't find the turf, but like the weight room was a capital project, so we didn't pay for that out of general fund money, or I can tell from the board docs and other information that we discussed. I would have expected that we didn't pay for the turf out of general fund. We did not. Okay, good. Glad to see that confirmation. So we paid for that out of capital funds as well. I'm not interested in raising taxes for many reasons. One particularly being that we have to spend $200,000 on something that we're not choosing, that we have determined independently that we need to do for the students and the community of Riverview. But I would agree that generally we are not spending extra money on things that are not needed in the district. Don't see like brand new stuff all over the district. We're doing what's absolutely necessary and what's a capital improvement where it's needed, which is not the general fund.
I agree with the short increase, small increase rather. For some of the same reasons that were already said, if we don't, and then we need a higher jump next year, and it's what we need is above the limit, and then we're forced to cut things that we don't want to cut. I don't think anything that we've, paid for in the last 2 years that I've been on the board I don't think anything has been extravagant. I think it's always been at the benefit of the school. I think all of us are super careful and super frugal, and, we all pay these taxes, all of us sitting here, and we all want to be smart with our money, and we try to be. But I just don't want to use the safety net and lose all that interest on top of it, and lose the compounded years after that, like Miss Lubert, graciously explained to us. So that's where I stand. Short and sweet.
Anybody else? Brian? You
No,
wanna-
I mean, you guys have all touched on it.
Do you want to do the vote?
Yeah, I mean, it's a roll call. Usually Rainey does
Oh,
it.
Yeah, Sheila, Sheila to 5A1, Sheila.
Mrs. Chupler,
Yes.
Ms. Sarabay, Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs Rohan,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
No.
Ms. Schutz,
Yes.
Ms. Seary. No. Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes 5.
B.
Okay. So then we'll do, is there any discussion on 5A2?
Motion, second, the same.
Motion and second is same.
Motion and second. the
Oh,
same.
okay.
You and LJR.
I'll second.
Okay. Garabay, Harris.
Any discussion on that?
Someone run for the tax collector, please.
And any judgment is.
I'm sure.
What does that mean? If you take the money and don't ask you for that. If you run for the office, but I think inherently in this district,
Yes.
PA Municipal Service has collected the taxes. The. Yes, yeah, any judgment can run. But historically, Pam's has collected the taxes for the district.
Yes, I mean.
For both Oakmont and for Beretta.
That wouldn't necessarily change.
No, that wouldn't necessarily. So, yes.
All right. Sheila, you want to do the roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Chaparro,
Yes.
Ms. Garabay. Yes. Mr. Hawk,
Yes.
Ms. Jacobs Rohan,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
Yes.
Ms. Schutz. Yes. Ms. Seary,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right.
This is,
All right. I'll do this one, Brian. Motion 5B, motion to approve the following financial items as presented. 1, closure of the 2024-2025 financials. Resolution authorizing the business manager to close the 24-25 Riverview School District books as of June 30th, 2025, incorporating all accruals therein to pay the 2024-2025 bills that are due by June 30th, 2025 as accrued. To transfer the budget amounts necessary for processing these expenditures subject to review and ratification by the Board of School Directors on or about August 11th, 2025. To pay the 2024-2025 bills that are due before the August 11th, 2025 regular meeting of the Board of School Directors, subject to review and ratification by the board on or about August 11th, 2025. And directs the administration to proceed with preparing for the necessary audit for the fiscal year 2024-2025. And 2, recommend approval Act 1 payments. Recommend approval to authorize the collection and payment of school real estate property taxes and installments as required by Act 1 for the 2025-2026 school year. 3, homestead farmstead exemption. Recommend approval of the 2025-2026 homestead farmstead tax exemption as follows. Homestead farmstead exclusion for qualified homestead farmstead properties in accordance with Act 50 of 1998 and Homestead Property Exclusion Program Act 2025-2026 state property tax reduction allocation $620,160.16. Total homesteads, farmsteads, 2,202 properties, tax relief per homestead, $281.63. 4, recommend the approval of the following depositories for 2025-2026 school year: Dollar Bank and Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, PLGIT. 5, recommend approval to authorize Ms. Sheila Lubert, Board Secretary, to complete the necessary year-end budgetary transfers. 6, recommend approval to authorize Ms. Sheila Lubert, Board Secretary, to pay June and July and August 2024 bills. And 7, recommend approval to authorize Ms. Sheila R. Lubert, Board Secretary, to pay construction pay applications and approve change orders up to a $15,000 limit. Do I have a motion?
For a second.
Any discussion? On number 6, why is that 2024? Is that correct?
2024, 2025 bills.
Okay. Are there outstanding bills from it?
Sorry. Some of the bills from this current school year, like items that we purchased for graduation, field day, things like that, the bills come in. Sometimes within 30 days of the activity or the purchase.
Oh, okay.
I send an email out every year asking everyone to finish up their purchasing by the end of March.
Okay.
That doesn't necessarily always happen, but we try.
Gotcha. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Great. Yeah.
All right, 5C. Does anyone need any of these read separately?
No.
No.
Move to, yes, thank you.
Read as listed,
Yes.
Can we pull out number 2?
pull out 2.
Okay,
All
did you hear
right.
that?
Yep.
Okay.
So you got 5C, Part 1. Approve as listed.
For items,
Sir.
1 for items 1 to
1 through
18.
18.
1 through 18 minus 2.
Minus 2.
we're pulling number 2 out.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, show us.
Then 7.
Any discussion?
No, that much, I knew this is a little bit, really good on that.
And I also just want to thank the administration for looking into the William McKinley contract. I get that it was a little contentious 2 weeks ago, but it was only for the benefit of our district and our school. Just to make sure that we are covered. Because if we're talking about being financially responsible and fiscally responsible, and we allow ourselves to be open to lawsuits potentially because we have a napkin contract. Not the same. So I appreciate all the time that you put into that. Questions as well. Thank you.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ayes have it. Do we do number 2 individually?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so 5C, motion to approve the following contracts and agreements, subject to final review and approval by the solicitor. Part 1, number 2, agreement between Riverview School District and Kellington Protection Services beginning 7/1/2025 through 6/30/2028 for 2 officers in the district. Do I have a motion?
For a second.
Discussion?
And just for the record, again, my issue with this is that it's an unfunded mandate from the state. We did not seek out having armed security in our buildings. I'm not opposed to it in idea, but in the practice that we're required under the state law that is being mandated upon us. I disagree with being forced to make this choice. But I agree with the equity issue as far as not having to have someone travel between 3 buildings at some schedule that would be very difficult to manage. Having 2 people is more equitable than just having 1 person, having to have them chase their tail around a and run.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I mean, like, get Bridget's point, I think for the community members watching at home, again, this is the state telling us that we have to have, security guards in our school, they not necessarily armed. That is the decision that we are making as a school district, with this company. But it is an unmandated, or it's an unfunded mandate, meaning that the school districts are liable for the amount of money that it costs the district to have the security guards in place, rather than the state actually saying, hey, we're going to chip in and help you with this, to ensure that your school remains safe. And I think it goes kind of back to the entire conversation around our budget, that the state also doesn't provide enough funding for schools in general. And they push it on our taxpayers to figure out how schools are going to be funded and how the majority of our budget is going to be funded each year. And time again, us as taxpayers sit here, look at the crowd, also talk with our constituents and have to tell them why we're asking for more money, or why our schools, need certain things, but then we have to prioritize and allocate 200,000 to security guards versus 200,000 towards the renovation of the kitchen down in the high school, or athletics, or what have you, because we now have to figure out where that money comes from, which another instance of that. So,
Grants for.
Yeah.
there are, but we are already using them, so we've applied for the one that's for mental health and stuff, but then we've already allocated that within our budget elsewhere, because we're also not trying to raise taxes to the umpteenth degree to fund those projects that the money's already go to, so because we already applied for them and we already get them, and they're already allocated, to reallocate them, then we have to think of what those are allocated towards and to refund those same projects. And they don't have more now. Yeah.
I appreciate your statements. I do. I agree. We're a very different district than a North Allegheny or a Fox Chapel, size-wise, and that we have the same mandate that those schools do is it's questionable.
Sorry, one more thing. How are we splitting the security officer between Penn Street and Vernon? The security guard's going to do a 3 and 2 with no set schedule. Start at 1, go to the other, every other day.
Yeah, so the proposal is 2 security guards, 1 full-time at the high school, obviously, because I think, our outside assessor deemed that as the most appropriate. And then a security guard to split between the elementary schools at an unposted schedule, so that nobody knows, when they're going to be there, when they're not going to be there, for safety reasons.
I just want to make sure we got 3 days a week at Penn Street, 2 days at Vernon.
Well, exactly equal time at both places, so. Yeah, we're gonna leave it up to them to sort of decide how they wanna sort of move it around, but they will be, the proposal is that they're at both schools at equal time. So whatever the schedule is that we created, it'll be random, but equal between both schools.
Can I just ask, and this may be a silly question, but what is the consequence of not doing this? You have to, like, there's no,
Well,
I mean, do they have, is there a consequence if
We can
if
apply,
schools
we
like,
had applied for a waiver, which we did have to apply for last year because this came down to this came down to school districts at like the last hour of last year. So we really didn't have the opportunity to go through the process like we did this year. So Neil and I did sign off on the waiver. And I think we did discuss that at the time. So we really didn't have a choice other than to get a waiver and do it the right way.
they're coming in from the porta potties.
So yeah, I don't know what the repercussions are of not having them, but, I don't know.
Yeah, we weren't provided any sort of I don't know what the oversight committee at the state probably.
Okay.
I don't want to speculate.
okay,
Any further discussion?
Almost done.
yeah, just a second.
And we do use that for safety and security in the district. We used it this year for the sound system, because you couldn't hear the speaker outside here at the elementary, playground. We utilized that money for the sounds. That was under my watch. I don't know what the funds were used for before. I think it was walkie-talkies and
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what.
Camera
what it did.
upgrades. Walkie-talkies, camera upgrades.
All right, go for it, Brian.
And I think one of the primary things that can happen is that we, by the way, we don't fulfill the mandate or get granted the waiver. Yeah, or to use force.
Okay, Brian.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Yes.
Any abstentions? Ayes have it. All right. 5C, motion to approve the following contracts. Agreement subject to final review and approval by solicitor. Part 2, agreement with UPMC WPH Western Psychiatric Hospital to provide student assistant program services SAP for the 2025-2026 school year. Do I have a motion?
Motion, yes, sure.
Jacob second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I will be abstaining as UPMC as my employer. All right. The last one in finance, motion 5D to approve the following proposed Riverview capital improvement projects for 2025. One, capital project with Great Lakes Supply Co-Stars contract for a conveyor of electric for the junior senior high school cafeteria in the amount of $17,145. Two, capital project with Great Lakes Supply Co-Stars contract for a combi oven electric for the junior senior high school cafeteria in the amount of $19,598. And three, capital project with the Great Lakes Supply Co-Stars contract for a convection oven electric for the junior senior high school cafeteria in the amount of $12,356. Do I have a motion?
First,
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Right. Mr. Paris for student life.
6A, motion to approve student life items. Number one, participation in the following multi-letter conferences and the corrections of attendance expect. These conferences are to change. Gannon, 11/7/25 to 11/8/25, Princeton, 11/25/25 to 11/23/25, Pitt, 10/28/25, Great Lakes, 12/3/25, 12/6/25, University of Michigan, 1/15/26 to 1/15/26, Toronto, 1/20 to 1/26, to 2/1/26, and then Rome 3/16/26 to 3/25/26. Number two, participation of the regular football team to attend football camp at the University of Mount Union, July 6, 25 through July 9, 25. Do I have a motion?
Sure, second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I thought the football camp was July 7th to the 9th. We hear that.
I can't reach them.
I believe the 6th to the 9th is correct.
I think it's over 9, July 7th.
No, just so we know, the letter that reads from Trevor for the football team says it's July 7th. I know that matters, but
I think it says at the bottom of the attachment, but it's really blurry.
So they leave on the 7th and set at 40 AM and return on the 9th at 3:30.
Yep, July 7th. It is 7th through
That's
the
like
9th.
bus departure.
It is 7th through the 9th. Let's revise that, 7th through the 9th. Thanks. No, I think the only two overnights are this. The 9th, the 7th, the 9th, the night of the 8th.
Now it says 3-day,
3 days.
3-day dash overnight camp. So
Okay.
3 days, 2 nights,
Got it.
maybe
Yeah.
that needs to be.
I'll adjust 3 days too.
Yeah, you're right, Steph.
Yeah.
Miss Garabay, you're right. You're correct.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And all those who abstain? Ayes have it.
All right, education, Ms. Schutz.
7A, motion to approve education items as presented. 1, approve the administration's recommendation as informed by a comprehensive district research study to maintain the current school start times for the 25-26 school year and until further notice. Do I have a motion?
Paris, so moved.
Wendy, second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to, and thank all the work that went into this. A lot to consider, and obviously we, as usual, do not have anything in common with any other district. As our busing was not our challenge. Where it was the security or the crossing guards was a big part of our challenge, and the fact that our graduation requirements are more. I hate the word rigor, so I can't say that. I can't say rigor. Yeah, yes, it's not, they're more studious than other places. We don't have the minimum graduation requirement that the state has. We're more studious. And I'm not willing to compromise that standard as a way of me setting ourselves apart from other places. We already, I mean, we have a period for kids to engage in learning that isn't on within the regular school day to try to give kids opportunity to do more and have more opportunities. So it's really unfortunate that we have these challenges. I think that it's something that It seems like most of us would like to revisit in the future. It also would require an additional expenditure potentially. So that's something to keep in mind. Thanks.
Any other discussion?
I thought that was mentioned, that it was 50-50 from parents, but it was more of like 60-40. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, the actual percentage is, it was, I think I said, and it was much closer to 50-50 in the second survey once kind of parents knew the impact. So it was 57% to 43% of parents in favor, which is a difference of about 50 parents were sort of in the balance there. Crossing guards are currently in short supply.
That would be a question there.
And tax collector for Verona and council.
It's just an SPO.
I think the issue with the crossing guards is that a lot of them have double shifts and make the fairly nominal amount of money that they make worth it. And if there's not enough time for them to get from one place to another, we'll lose crossing guards that are already, less leisure will sometimes like fill in. And so hey, we always need more, we need more now, even without those challenges, we need more crossing guards. So yeah, we would love it if you signed up to do that. That would be great.
Yeah, I think what Seth is getting at too is the fact of like, it does seem like we did, from your initial presentation, it did seem like, the challenges that we faced were mitigating, factors or like, things that we could do to fix any of the potential downfalls of it and crossing the situation, right? And that was the only one that came up at the end that really like we didn't have a concrete solution to necessarily, but everything else seemed like, we could shift times around, we could shift when, or like requirements, we could make it work for students. So I get the piece of it where, our staff definitely, overwhelmingly said that they would not like that. But I also took that with a grain of salt because if someone told me that I was going to leave work a little later in the day, I might not like that too, but my work day is already 8 to 5, not 7 to 3. So I don't know, but also, and I get our students are also not as in favor of it. I also agree. As a student, I probably wouldn't have been in favor of it either. I was buying for more time, not less. Or having to shift my schedule around to be later in the day versus earlier. But I do also agree with the parents in the research that it is more beneficial to have more sleep. Our students are here to learn. At the end of the day, my extracurriculars are only going to take me so far, and my education is where I'm putting, my money at the end of it. So, I don't know. I think that this one could have gone a different way, but I think the board, it sounds like it hasn't really got towards not doing it this year. So I definitely would challenge us to continue looking at this because, like we talked about before, it's been done. I started here when I went here, so I got pieces. I guess so I've been here, so I think it can be done for sure.
The crossing guards were part of the reason, but for me, like it was our Forbes students that they were gonna lose 3 class periods, which to Bridget's point, our academics are important to us, and we would hate for our board students to miss out on that. The time that kids would be missing, having to leave earlier from school for, other things. If, we were able to, if the crossing guards, to make it work, we would have to consider making the elementary school later, which could be almost 4 o'clock when elementary school students would be getting out. So that was, there's ways to work around things, but they're not always ideal either. Other, high school kids picking up their siblings, high school students that have jobs, the athletics, starting later. And on top of that, realizing that 10 years ago that we went to the start time that we have now for some of those reasons, because the teachers felt like the kids were missing too much class time. So, I mean, I get what the research says, and again, if a child is having a crisis of any kind, mental health, physical health, our administrators and our teachers would make accommodations as needed and do what they could to help that student. But, we have kids that are involved in a lot of things, and that's part of what makes Riverview great. So that's where I go.
I think we've experienced, in the last week, one of the things that would be an issue is traffic. I preached this probably the day I'm no longer on this board, but if we put any more strain on Third Street at certain times of the day, getting our students into the high school, it's going to explode. So if you shift that, I'm glad I'd like to sit on my porch if you'd like to, and watch the traffic after school drop off, start to peel right into Third Street at 8 o'clock. So if we shift our time, we're gonna now stack up the traffic that's coming through during rush hour on top of school traffic. And an already congested space, and an already dangerous intersection at Halton and Third. That we still don't have enough. I'd like there to be 25 crossing guards every day. My child is 16 years old. Last year was the first time I let him cross Halton Road. Walking. Maybe that's fanatic, but I don't think so. Anyway, so I don't think we can pinhole and say it's only because of one or two things. There's all the factors, and I want to recognize parents who took the time to sit with this and study it. It is important, very important, and no one should lessen that at all. It's then having to look at how it impacts every single part of the operation of the school and the school district. The contracts, the maintenance, the food service, the crossing guards, how it impacts athletics, how it impacts our students and what they do before and after school, and their responsibilities. We are a small community. We have kids who have other responsibilities, and we have resources that are already tight. So if we have to shift our school day, as we talked about before, we're then shifting also the use of fields that we use in the community for any other sports activities. So other groups like RA now have to shift their schedules. Twinborough now has to shift their schedules. Everyone has to now shift. And now we're moving into kids are going to be practicing until 9:30 or 10 at night. So the pendulum's going to switch. And so which way is it okay for it to switch? And what part of that is the discussion of, in order for you as a proper young person, and whatever a parent or a house's decision on how that works, of when they go to bed and when they get up in the morning, to me is a personal thing. I agree with what's there in science, and it is, but it's not something that, to me, I see as a problem for our district at this time. The administration hasn't come to us and said, this is a problem in our district. We're having significant targets, we're having significant truancy, and maybe this is the reason why. So right now, with the logistics involved in making that adjustment, to me, it's not a responsible decision for the entire district. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Nay. Nay, sorry.
Any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, board governance. Motion 8A to approve board governance as presented. One, the PSBA School Leadership Conference, October 19th through the 21st, 2025. Two, 2025 PSBA Conference Delegate Assembly and appointment to be attended by Mr. Harris at a cost of registration and lodging to the district. Three, Ms. Lorraine Zutowski, appointment as Riverview School Board Treasurer for the 2025-2026 school year as required by Section 404 of the Public School Code. And four, to present the PSBA honorable certification to Mr. Brian Hawk for completing 5 years of volunteer service to the students, community, and public education across the Commonwealth. Do I hear a motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Congratulations, Mr. Hawk.
Thanks, Brian. All right. Okay, any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Motion 8B, motion to approve the booster organizations as presented for the 2025 school year according to RSD policy 915, pending any receipt of any additional certification requirements. One, RABA, the Riverview Athletic Booster Association. Do I have a motion?
Harris, second.
Any discussion?
Can I ask a question? You want me to abstain? Because I'm from this report.
No, I don't think so. She said that she need to abstain because she, and she takes part.
She helped create the report.
No.
No.
You're good.
Okay.
Do we do both of these before the motion? Or we need a motion on the top? Okay, who is the motion? Steph and Paris? Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Thank you, Brad. For your hard work. All right, motion 8C, motion to approve the PSBA principles for the 2025-2026 school year. One, Pennsylvania School Board Association Principles of Governance and Leadership Resolution. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Harris, second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Ayes have it.
Please remind them that I'll sign it before they leave.
And we have a copy of it up here that everybody needs to sign before they leave. The board governance
Yes,
for PSBA,
and we'll send that, I'll scan it and send it to these guys.
and it will be sent to you guys at home at some point. Okay. All right, so personnel. Motion 9 for approval of the personnel items as presented. One, Melissa Kearney as a temporary professional employee, master step 4, effective August 15th, 2025, according to the RSD REA CBA at Verner Elementary School, grade 4, replacing position open from employee resignation pending any necessary clearance and health requirements. 2, Veronica Darno as a temporary professional employee, bachelor's step 3, effective August 15th, 2025, according to the RSD REA CBA at 10th Street Elementary, grade 3, replacing position open from employee retirement pending any necessary clearance and health requirements. 3, William Van Wy as a temporary professional employee, master's step 6, effective August 15th, 2025, according to the RSD REA CBA at Riverview Junior Senior High School. Social studies teacher, replacing position open from employee retirement pending any necessary clearance and health requirements. 4, accept the resignation of elementary teacher with employee ID 8400, effective upon completion of the 2024-2025 school year. 5, appointment of the Federal Programs Administrator for the 2025-2026 school year, Ms. Jamie DeRoche. 6, appointment of the Homeless Liaison for the 2025-2026 school year, Ms. Jamie DeRoche. Am I saying her? DeRochers. And 7, Hannah Chapman as a temporary professional employee, bachelor's step 5, effective August 15th, 2025, according to the RSD REA CBA at Verner Elementary Special Education, replacing position open from employee retirement pending any necessary clearance and health requirements. Do I have a motion?
Harrison.
Series second.
Any discussion?
Are there still some other outstanding positions that we'll be voting on later from some of the from some of the like retirements and things?
There is one more position that we were made aware of and we just found out about today, but I'll update the board. It was a surprise. So other than that, though, we filled all positions except for this one today.
Okay, because I was remembering one other one at the high school that I thought we have not filled, but maybe I'm mistaken
So
from a retirement.
The movement of the teacher.
yeah.
that?
What's that?
Is that?
What?
Physical education.
Yes, the PE teacher. Are you talking
Yes.
about? Yes.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one
That's
come through
been-
yet, so I was wondering what's happening
Yeah,
with
well,
that one.
that move is, there was an internal move there and then thus the extra person here in the agenda at the elementary school to refill that movement. It's like, checkerboard. Does that make
So-
sense?
Wait, no, sorry, I'm not following. So do you mean the other current PE teacher is going to be covering both or no?
No, we have a teacher at the elementary school taking the PE position, thus opening a position at the elementary school, which we have filled by the candidates that you're voting on this evening.
Number 2 on the list.
I'm assuming it's one of the elementary school teachers that was the PE teacher.
That is correct, yes.
Did we, I understand now, but did we previously vote on that move from the elementary teacher to the high school, or do we not need to do so?
No, you don't need to do that one. Just the incoming folks, one of which is in attendance this evening.
I see, okay.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks. Very happy. Right.
Like,
Okay. Yep. Sorry. No computer. Okay. Motion 9B, motion for approval of personnel items as presented. 1, the hiring of the 2025-2026 supplemental positions as detailed below, pending any certification and/or health requirements. A, girls varsity assistant soccer coach, Sydney Caldwell, and B, girls varsity head basketball coach, Andre Carter. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. Phyllis.
For a second.
Jen, second.
Any discussion?
Just want to say I'm excited for new leadership for girls varsity soccer and basketball and assistants as well.
I think this speaks to our athletic director's commitment to the district. He said that certainly it would have been reasonable looking for a candidate.
Okay. All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Done. Yeah.
Just can't get enough of us.
All right, so this is our time for our second hearing of citizens. It's designated for all school-related topics. If you'd like to speak, sign in, come up to the microphone, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Keep in mind that we do not typically respond to public comment, but take it into consideration for future governance and realize all comments and meetings are recorded.
Thank you for being able to bring we will have more information as the other seasons, the other sports come in to play for spring next year. We try to get this done early because last year I talked to Sheila, she was like, we need to do this before the budget, so making sure everyone don't get messed up on the time. Keep that very grateful. I'm also wanting now that the USGA is done. I've been down in the fields and they're all pretty bad. So with soccer and football having to start in like 8 weeks, thinking about it. I'm gonna send some pictures to both you, Dr. English, and to Mr. Bodie tomorrow morning. Just so we're on top of this, because I don't want to hear 3 weeks from now when we have a drought and there's no rain, the grass is not drought, because that's gonna be the next problem. And I think that, we'll stay on top of it. The batting cages are still broken down there as well. And honestly, I know that we had talked about, I know you had spoken with them about baseball field from the past, we were supposed to, the borough was supposed to be budgeting for something. There was cars on the infield and everything, but when it was passed, just had to baseball. So as we go forward, I encourage you all to talk to council members about this too, because our athletic programs is great. I know I'm scared about the weight room and to say this, but I will tell you this, the mental health is boosted by these kids in extracurricular activities, whether they're in the weight room, the programs. I mean, thank you, Mr. Carter, for coming to Riverview. He has been a wonderful, wonderful man to work with in terms of dealing with things, because parents not fun to deal with. So it's been positive. So I just want you to know that we're here to help. And like I said, I'll put you those pictures. Let's stand, or I'll be your student. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna fight you all one of these. I had a bunch of things to mention. I feel everybody's pain, opinions, positive, negative about the start times. I would like it to be reconfirm the number of responses we got. Because we have close to 1,000 students, I think we got less than 300 responses
With the parents,
from the parents.
353.
So out of how many parents, if we had a greater response, I would feel like, okay, let's lean towards, let's dig in a little bit deeper to see how we can make this happen between Forbes Trail and, but it could be an ongoing, survey. My child was adamant about not changing it. And so we agreed to earlier bedrooms, and we agreed to turning off electronics, and we agreed to, that's how we're gonna fix it in my house. But I don't know, we'll see. Number two, USDA, I'm really disappointed they parked in our infield. It's sad, but that's a borough issue. They leased it from the borough. So, but the school district should, absolutely, Andre or whoever should be involved with voting now. Because my husband's on the rec board, and the sooner you know, the better. The USDA did offer, a financial, I don't know if it's a gift, but that money is being earmarked towards the lights program. And so we're gaining on getting to the goal of the lights program. We're not there yet with the USDA's, I'll call it a gift. We should be getting closer. Andre Carter, I can't say enough about, I mean, I worked with, he's my third AD. I've worked with volunteering in the athletic department. Mario was awesome. He was awesome. Corey was a great guy. But Andre, you can just tell his passion for just, getting to know the kids, getting to understand the kids, getting to know the parents and understanding, you know, their needs or their wants, or if their kid is on AAU, if their kid's going to Monmouth UN, if their kid's in the musical, so that he understands. And I'm elated that, you know, he has the position. I hope with the girls' basketball team and the boys' basketball team on the scoreboard. And if you see the way he works with our kids, you could tell, you know, his passion comes through. I think it's gonna be great. Thank you all. Once again, another year we've wrapped up. The budget is always contentious. Some years we have 100 people in the room, some years we have none. I know it's not easy. I totally agree. We've had people who have said, I'm on a fixed income, I can't afford it, but it has to be done. So I appreciate that you looked everywhere and dug deep and had these really thorough discussions. Thank you, and I look forward to them. Good year. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Practiced. Some money.
Anybody else? All right, so we have committee reports. I think Finance Committee has passed budget.
There's not a lot of reports this.
All right, education, you have anything? Nope. Safety? Nope.
Nope.
Finlay?
Nope.
Nope. Policy? Nope.
Nope.
And PSB liaison?
Nope. That's it.
3 for 3, Antonio.
Communications?
No report.
Forbes?
No, congratulations to all the graduates.
Legislative?
I hate to.
Don't ruin the streak.
I am, it's not really on me. That's 3%. He has in the book on that. They've been expecting basically nonstop since the beginning of the month, so.
Mhm.
But as usual, I will have brevity and humor. The House has passed several bills, including requiring external defibrillator availability. But we don't have a defibrillator, we'll be putting that in the budget next year. Eliminating BMI. Not a bad thing. Prevailing wage, again, not the House, but if this is the second time around. The lowering her teacher certification fees did occur, which is great. They will be more than $50 moving forward. And an expedited opportunity for veterans who want to get an occupational area certification to work at our CPTs, which would be amazing. So they would be able to work with newer programs in our technical schools. The Senate passed Senate Bill Resolution 119, urging the Department of Agriculture and U.S. Congress to support whole milk in schools. Really important. Senate Bill 225 goodwill domain. I don't really understand. It's really making sure to compensate people for their property if we take it. Thought that was already a law. Senate local government advertising flexibility, this is like kind of a double-edged sword, basically making it so we don't necessarily have to use the paper. But then there's something in the paper. Some people may not see it, that's like a difficult. And then another bill from the Senate Education Committee on 18. Again, I haven't seen anything that's giving any funding for this idea, and not opposed to, but they're not cheap.
We do have AEDs, multiple AEDs in each school already, so we should be good there. And an extra one for sports that is mobile that our trainer takes with us. Yeah.
Okay, this is the really exciting. We passed House Bill 1500, which means that unless the governor vetoes it, we have an $8,000 per student cyber charter bill.
What?
I know. No, there's a lot of other things.
People in the back.
Yeah, $8,000 for non-special education students in cyber.
That's huge.
Again, this is not, there's no goal yet, but the ribbon tying is happening. There's a lot of other pieces that we are going to report, there's links as well to the actual bill and a summary. Like there's a multi-pronged approach, which is fair. So we for evaluation proceedings. It also, can I also point out, talks about their reserves in cyber, which are unchecked, unlimited, and non-reported.
At $80 million.
Yeah, it's so, but it's very comprehensive and really a huge win. Something people have been working on from all different kinds of places for a really, really long time. So
So that was the House and the Senate passed.
yes, it is completely passed. We're, again, it's just, is the governor going to not sign? Is he going to sign?
She's gonna say.
And would be shocked if he didn't tell us, but nothing is
No, he's right.
impossible. I haven't seen anything, but. So, and that's all. I'm gonna end on that.
Okay, that was good news. Yes. Anything with Eastern area? Yeah.
No update from Eastern area other than similar stuff we had. They had graduation, it was awesome. And we are currently in collection for the fund balance or the building use fees in order to do some additional projects, which we will focus on over the summer.
All right. Solicitors report?
I guess we just advise the administration on different contract matters, student issues, and personnel matters.
There, and I did want to say thank you to Sheila too for getting through this budget. This is quite the process she has to go through, so really appreciate your hard work and also that you have provided us with and the community with a lot of information that we haven't had in years past. And I think it was helpful to community members and it was in layman's terms that anybody I think could understand and, you know, be able to ask questions from. So appreciate that. Did a great job. All right. So then do I have a motion to adjourn?
In memory, yeah, by proxy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good summer, everyone. Hey. Hold out.
Hopefully we won't need a July.